We will now make a straightforward stitching of a 2-channel metamorph dataset. Start XuvTools GUI, then set it to full screen. We will close the output console as it is not needed. You always start a new stitching by adding files to the empty project. You can select multiple files at once. For the SDK dataset, where channels are stored in individual files, we will start by adding all the files of the first channel. Zoom out to see the tile positions on screen. If stage coordinates were available in the files, they have been used to place the tiles. Calculate the thumbnails to see a maximum intensity projection. In our microscope setup, the stage coordinates have not been calibrated. This is why the y-axis is inverse. You can use the layout tool to correct this. Choose Mirror Stage Axis and then mirror the y-axis. You can now see the result is correct. Then close the layout tool. We will now add all the files of the second channel by selecting Add Files as New Channel. Select all the files of the second channel and click Open. Then recalculate the thumbnails. For multi-channel datasets, you will get color thumbnails. As you can see, the stage coordinates were not precise, but they are sufficient to start a good stitching. Select Run Stitcher. Now you have two options. The first option is to ignore the current tile coordinates and start a new stitching from scratch. The runtime of this is worse than using the current tile coordinates. So if stage coordinates are available, always use the second choice. With stage coordinates available, the stitching is a lot faster and uses less memory. After a stitching, you always have to adjust the similarity threshold. The similarity threshold represents a measure of how well tiles need to correlate in order to be placed together. Always start with a high similarity threshold, which will only put together tiles that match very well. Then slightly decrease the threshold. Now you will get placements of larger groups that still belong together quite well. Continue until a successful placement can be reached. If you have to go lower than 0.5, make sure that the stitching is correct. Zoom in and check the placement of tiles. If you are satisfied with the placement, you can save the resulting output image. First, choose a blending width, which is a sigmoid blending between neighboring tiles. A small blending width usually gives good results. Then save the resulting output image as one of the supported formats. When you close the stitching software, it will ask you to save the current project. You can save the project in order to continue later with the stitching if you were not satisfied. Save the project as an HDF5 file.